Good afternoon. This is April. I'm coming to you for, this is week 2, discussion 2 for INFM 685, Healthcare Software Requirements and System Analysis and Design class for Dr. Victor Williams. In this week, we are discussing defining different methodologies of software development. In my assessment of this particular discussion question, I went with the first 4, being Agile, Scrum, Kanban, and Extreme Programming, or XP. In the world of software development and design, there are many different project management methods for which to choose from. Some of these methods are intuitive or require tacit knowledge, whereas others are more explicit and require learned or documented knowledge. In this discussion, we will focus on 3 main software development methods, those being Scrum, Kanban, and Extreme or XP programming, and how they take shape in the Agile world. Agile is basically like the framework for which Scrum, Kanban, and XP branch off of when developing software. Scrum follows a more rigid instruction methodology, whereas Kanban is easier to introduce and implement on top of an existing system or processes. Kanban is not Scrum, and there are several distinctions between Kanban and Scrum, though they are both work methods. Scrum is an iterative, incremental work method that provides a highly prescriptive way in which work gets completed. Scrum teams have defined processes, roles, ceremonies, or things that they do all the time, and artifacts, meaning documents that they have to produce. Whereas Kanban uses whiteboards with flashcards to document project process flow with columns such as a to-do list, an in-progress list, and a completed list. And they have different, those little flashcards under each one, and letting you know which stage the process is in. But it does not basically give you any dates as to any hard dates as to when something is going to be completed. Only way that you know that a particular task is being completed with Kanban is if it is moved to the completed column. That's one of the disadvantages of it. Agile and XP, or Extreme Processing, is the combination of Scrum, Kanban, because they both have a humanistic approach to software development design, meaning that they incorporate a lot of communication between the team members and focus a lot on making sure that information gets to all parties quickly as possible to make sure that the design is delivered to the customer as soon as possible. It relies heavily on feedback and collaboration of each team member as well. However, Agile tends to be more regiment about documentation, whereas Extreme Programming mission is to get the product to the customer quickly with minimal emphasis on design or documentation. Now, some of the advantages I want to point out between the 4 of these, like with Agile, like I said, there's the customers are heard. You know, they focus on the end user being more involved in an Agile project, faster and quicker, high quality delivery of a software development design. You always know what the end is going to be, what the end of the project should look like with an Agile method. Some of the disadvantages are planning is a little less concrete. Documentation can be neglected. And the final product can be very different. Just because in the beginning it may think it's going to be one way, but as you go through the process, you realize that you can't deliver on certain things. With Scrum, it's more transparent and project is more visible. It has increased team accountability. It's easy to accommodate changes with it, and it increases cost savings. The risk, though, or the disadvantages of Scrum is the scope creep. meaning that because it doesn't have like a particular end date to it, then it has the potential to the customer can come back and ask for more functions. If so, without a definitive timeline as far as when a certain task is to be completed, that opens up a window for what they call scope creep. Another disadvantage is poorly defined tasks can lead to increase in accuracies, which is basically that same type of scope creep thing. If you have someone that's always coming back and wanting to redefine certain things or certain functions, then that's when the task can kind of get skewed and end up with a project, the end result being not what the customer wanted to begin with. Kanban, as far as their advantages, it's increased flexibility, reduces waste, it's easy to understand, improves delivery flow, and minimizes cycle time. Well, that would be true with the whiteboards. You just have like basically a whiteboard, looks like a chalkboard, and you put up the flashcards with the information in it that is pertaining to different tasks that you need to get done. Some of the disadvantages of Kanban is outdated board can lead to issues, meaning that if everybody on the Kanban team is responsible for that whiteboard and making sure that the tasks get moved from one column to the next. And if that doesn't happen, then you basically end up with a board that's not updated, or as they say, outdated. Teams can overcomplicate the board, meaning that they put on too much emphasis or put other things on the board that is really not pertaining to the project. There's just too much fluff on it. And then there's a lack of timing, because basically there's really no time constraint with Kanban. It's just like when it gets moved to the completed column is up to whomever, if that particular piece of it is done. Now, as far as the advantages of extreme programming, there's cost saving and time reduction, extremely simple development, whole process is visible and accountable, it's constant feedback that promotes faster changes if needed, faster development, increased employee satisfaction and retention. And you can see how extreme programming and agile advantages are similar. That's why I was saying at the beginning of this particular video that I can see the commonalities between the two and how they are interrelated. As far as the disadvantages, though, of extreme programming or XP, is that it's not design focused. It's poor documentation leads to defects. It does not measure code quality, meaning that they just code to just get the product out the door. It's not to determine whether it's going to be useful for the client or not. It's just basically, we have to get this done, so let's put some code in here that we think will make it work. And that's it. It cannot be used with remote location team members, meaning that you can't have someone like me who works from home and be on a XP team. That would not work. It has to be working within the same location, same office, same time to get these projects done in order to be fast and efficient and get the product to the customer as soon as possible. Okay, well, thank you for listening. I hope that I had some useful information to share with you today, and have a great day. Thank you. Bye.